Hello, I'm Samantha, and this is Read That. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Today's episode is going to be a quick one, but also a very, very fun one. So if you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, thank you for being here. Now, today's episode is going to be me reacting to one-star reviews of some of my favorite books. Now, I've seen a few people do this before on YouTube, and I thought that this was a really cool idea, and it was actually really, really funny. So I thought I would do it. I might hurt my feelings, but that's okay. So basically what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to go find reviews on like Goodreads of some of my favorite books and just read them and react. And like I said, hopefully they're funny and they don't hurt my feelings, but we'll see. Now, at the start of every episode, our segment of what we're currently reading. Now, I'm actually currently reading Woman Down by Colleen Hoover, which is her new release that came out, I think, in January, I want to say. Now, I'm nearly done. I did like it at the start, but I'm not sure where it's headed. I did predict something really big that happened in it, so I don't know if that's making me feel it's not that good. But like I said, I haven't finished it, so I can't really judge it completely yet. I will probably get my final thoughts in the February recap, but just for now, it's interesting. Probably not one of her best, but it's interesting. All right, let's get into the meat of the episode, the fun part. We're going to be reacting to some reviews. Now, I think in honor of the announcement of Boys of Tommen series being made into a TV show, it's only right that I start off this little series with Binding 13 by Chloe Welsh. One of my favorite books, a 5-star read in my opinion. I think the series is probably one of my all-time favorites as well. So reading people's 1-star is going to be tough, but we'll do it anyway. Like I said, I'm getting these reviews from Goodreads. I haven't read them before. I'm literally reading them as I go. Okay. On Goodreads, Binding of 13 has 78,296 reviews. That's not ratings, that's reviews, like people actually writing stuff. But overall, it does have 4.45 stars. So people are like me and they are loving the book. Okay, it's only got 7,706 1-star reviews. So that's actually not too bad, to be honest, compared to how much reviews there actually is. So there isn't a lot of people that actually dislike the book. So that's a good start. All right. These reviews are long, so let's get to it. First review. This was written on October 12th, 2020. This person rated it 1 star. Worst $6 I've ever spent in my life. Reading this book was the equivalent to ripping out each individual hair follicle on my head. That's disgusting and that's giving housemaid vibes, don't you reckon? Pulling the hair follicles out. And also $6, that's not that much. That's not that much. I think Binding 13 was like at least $14, $16 from Kmart. So, girl, you saved money. Anyways, I actually can't believe I avoided every spoiler on this book like the plague, thinking this series was going to be a banger, because it is. All that hard work for nothing. Wattpad, I'm so sorry for ever comparing this book to you. I've read books on Wattpad a million times better than whatever this was. Okay, but Wattpad does slay, so Wattpad's not that bad. I remember reading Wattpad back in the day too. All right, let's begin. So that wasn't even a review. It still goes. The length of this book is enough to make me go dizzy. 662 pages in the copy I had, but other copies have over 800 pages. What is going on here? Chloe Welsh, may I introduce you to the editor, please? This book did not need to be as long as it was, and I generally thought since it was so long there would be actually stuff happening in the book. I was mistaken. The book had absolutely nothing going on for about 99% of the time, and that's me being generous. Okay, now I think the difference in her copy size, 600, 800 pages, that's because UK, US copied like how big the book is. But I think every bit of that book is necessary. I don't think she could have edited anything out. In fact, I wanted it to be longer. So we don't agree there, but again, you're entitled to your opinion. Let's keep going. Welsh must have thought she was saving the environment the way she recycled every conversation and the plot over and over and over and over again. Basically just Johnny driving Shannon home every day and them having the same conversations. Didn't realize he was signing up to be her chauffeur. Well, that's what makes the book so good, because you're building on the relationship. Shannon. I'm guessing this is her opinions on Shannon now. Why in the hell, sorry, she's swearing, she's getting passionate, did I need to hear how small Shannon like the river is every 5 seconds. There's absolutely no reason for me to be reading about how small she is the number of times I did. We get it. I was tired of it by the second page. Yes, the second page, you read that correctly. It's already been mentioned at least 5 times by then, and then a million more times afterwards. Shannon like the river and her tiny bone structure. She's so small and unable to do anything for herself. She literally needs everyone else to help her do the most basic human tasks. Sorry, she is malnourished, okay? And she's also like a child. She's in school. But yeah, okay, I get maybe we don't need to mention it all the time, but Chloe Welsh is just trying to show you who she is. Ugh. But I have heard some people say that I do get that complaint, but still, you feel so passionately about it. It's crazy. Okay, let's keep going. Johnny now. Her opinions on Johnny. Generally thought his name was Josh the entire half of the. Okay, to be fair, I don't know how you're getting Johnny and Josh confused, but to be fair, sometimes I do read names wrong and I will go a whole book thinking the character's name is pronounced one way than it actually is. But Josh and Johnny, they are two different names, love, but that's okay. I hate this kid. Okay. All he did was talk about his dick for half the book and how hot and tiny Shannon like the river is and everything he wanted to do to her. Being inside his head was the most painful experience of my life. The repetitive non-stop inner monologues really made me homicidal. Okay, that girl, you're taking this a bit too far. Pure torture it was putting myself through this. I could skip pages and still wind up back in the same spot. He loved to create problems for him and Shannon like the river out of thin air. One of the dumbest characters I've ever read in a while. It was fun laughing at him sometimes though, so at least there's that. Where was the love, the chemistry, the connection? There was over 600 pages and somehow nothing to convince me that these two were made for each other. Johnny needs to get his ass back to Dublin and Shannon like the river needs years of therapy and a stable household. Anyway, see below the big Josh and tiny Shannon. How lovely. Okay, Shannon comes from like a domestic violence household. So yes, she does need therapy and she does need a stable household. Johnny has an injury, okay? Okay, she's just trying to reiterate to you and put you in the characters' lives. I personally love the detail. I don't know what's wrong with it, but she feels very passionate about this and good for her, but like it's not that deep. It is a book at the end of the day, like, you know. Anyways, let's move on. Review number 2. This one was written on August 22nd, 2024. This one's a short one. I could make a drinking game of how many times A, Shannon's called tiny, and B, Johnny talks about his dick, but I'd die of alcohol poisoning. Okay, so people don't like the fact that she kept mentioning that she's a small girl and that he was talking about his dick, but it's not, he's injured, okay? That's why he's talking about it and he has surgery for it and all that sort of stuff. But it's funny how some things to me will go over my head like that. Like, I'm like, I don't care. Like, give me the detail. But it's funny. It's funny. It could be a good drinking game, though. You will be drunk by the end. Don't know if you die by alcohol poisoning, but you would be drunk. All right, review number 3. That was a short one. We got another long one. Oh my God. This one was written on August 20, 2025. So this is recent. There's a trigger warning at the start. Okay, trigger warning. If you love this book or this series, I strongly recommend you do not read this review. Yeah, I'm going to read it anyways. Let's read it. Do yourself a favor and turn back now, because what follows is not just critical, it is explosive and unfiltered. I've been holding this in for far too long, and it's about to come pouring out of me with no mercy. I need to say every single word because I dedicated so many hours of my life trudging through this book like it was some literacy crucifixion, and now I need to exorcism it out from my system. Okay, girl. That's dramatic. Very dramatic. Let's start at the beginning. This book had been sitting on my shelf and collecting dust for over 2 years. I was too scared to touch it. And why? Because the hype was absolutely deafening. Everyone swore it was life-ruining, soul-crushing masterpiece. Because it is. Because it is. She's quoting people, but it's long. But every word counts. That's me. That's me. Guys, is she talking to me? 800 pages isn't even enough. Is she talking about me? Well, you're all liars. Please be so for real right now. because this book didn't ruin me, it didn't touch me, it didn't even graze the surface of an emotional reaction. What it did was waste my time, insult my intelligence, and test the limits of my patience in a way no book has ever dared to do before. I am in awe of the sheer audacity. If you cut 500 pages from this book, I promise you not a single ounce of substance will be lost. It would be the exact same story, only less torturous to endure. I did not walk into this book completely blind. I went in already prepared to be annoyed by Johnny's chronic inability to think with anything other than his dick and talk about his dick, and the way Shannon liked the river is endlessly described as tiny, delicate, and small, fragile, like that was her entire identity. I knew these things going in, and still they managed to exhaust me more than I imagined. It's not just annoying, it's repetitive and utterly devoid of nuance, and yet somehow there wasn't even the worst part. Okay, well, you already had a bias going in to that one, so you kind of set yourself up with that. But again, a lot of people don't like this fact, which I get, but also it's not that big of a deal. Anyways, let's keep going. To anyone who told me I would love this, just know I am completely side-eyeing you so hard. I apologize. Because I expected emotional devastation and heartbreak, which you do get. Don't listen to this lady. I don't even know if she's a lady. I'm sorry to whoever this is. I expected some kind of unforgettable, gut-wrenching, character-driven masterpiece. Instead, I got Binding 13, an 800-page plus exercise in stagnation, indulgent repetition, and emotional shallowness described as death. Oh, this is so funny. I kept waiting for the moment. You know, the point where it all clicks, where all the build-up pays off, where it finally reaches in and grabs something visceral inside of you, but it never came, not once. I felt absolutely nothing for these characters or their struggles, just dead, dried-eyed silence, night after night as I dragged myself through yet another chapter that read like a copy-pasted version of the one before. This book is not a slow burn, it's a narrative paralysis. The same scenes repeat on an endless, mind-numbing loop. Shannon flinches, Johnny rages, someone bullies Shannon, Johnny thinks about how he wants her but can't have her. Shannon gets bruised again, someone calls her fragile, repeat. There is no escalation, no evolution, no rising tension. It's the same emotional beats recycled again and again with zero payoff and even less purpose. Entire chapters go by where literally nothing happens, just endless brooding and manufactured angst with no direction. Okay, well, that one was actually kind of harsh. I'm not gonna lie, but maybe this book just isn't for you, girl. I don't know what to say to that. I'm kind of hurt because I really like this book and now I kind of feel dumb for liking it, but I don't at the same time. I'm not gonna lie, that review was really brutal. I don't know what to say besides I'm sorry because I think it's one of the best books of all time, and please don't let that review deter you from reading the book. I promise you. Yes, those things are mentioned and always repeating how small she is, but it's not copied and pasted version of each chapter after another. I don't think that's true. So I am moving on. Okay, I'm not moving on because the review actually keeps going. I had to press add more. This review is still going. And the writing, in love with its own melodrama. The dialogue is so stiff, robotic, and comically unnatural. I swear no one speaks like a real human being. Every conversation is either an info dump or exaggerated feelings or a shouting match, devoid of substance, nuance, or rhythm. It's emotionally loud, but narratively hollow. The characters talk at each other, not to each other, and it makes every scene feel like a teen soap opera. Okay, well, I could not disagree more with that. I actually think the dialogue is really good, and it's actually dialogue between certain characters actually pretty funny, and it's definitely not robotic and definitely not stiff. Maybe you just don't get their banter, okay? Anyways, let's keep going. Now she's moving to the characters. Shannon. She's supposed to be the emotional core of the book, the girl whose trauma and healing we're meant to follow, to feel, to ache for. And yet she barely exists as a person. She's written like a fragile porcelain doll, possessive, helpless, flinching her way through the narrative with no agency and no emotional complexity. Every chapter reduces her to a list of adjectives: small, broken, tiny, scared. That's it. That's all she is. Over 800 pages, we do not see her evolve, reflect, or assess herself in any meaningful ways. Okay, that was really mean as well. Like you said, she's 15, so of course she's not going to have a massive transformation. And the book only takes place over half a school year. So it's really not that much time if you think about it. So there's not going to be a crazy development in that sense. But I think you do see her grow as a character. And also she does have a lot of trauma. I don't think that can be resolved within that book. And hence why there is a second book for her character to continue building on her trauma and how she heals and moves on. So I don't really feel like that's a fair call, but let's continue. Johnny, I have never read so many pages dedicated to a character doing absolutely nothing. What do you mean this man wakes up, does sport, goes to school? He's always on the go. What do you mean he does nothing? I wanted to sympathize with him, and yes, I do feel sorry for him in regard to his injury. Okay, well, there we got some empathy. His entire inner monologue consists of 3 systems: horny, angry, and guilty. That's it. He is like a 17-year-old boy, so what else are you going to be doing? His guilt over being attractive to a 15-year-old when he's 17 is absolutely overblown. He spirals like he's committed a crime against humanity when in reality it's a 2-year age gap, and the way his conflict is drawn out feels like nothing more than forced artificial angst designed to pad the word count and create false tension. Okay, I do agree with that one in the sense of it is only a 2-year age gap and people make it out to be this massive thing like it's an adult getting with a child. So I do agree with that. That one we can agree on. Let's continue. And what does he do with this guilt? Does he talk to Shannon? No, he just broods, punches things and people, and makes decisions for her instead of with her. Yeah, because he doesn't want to admit to himself that he likes her. Isn't that the whole point of the book, to make a slow burn? That at the start they don't want to admit you like them, but then they realize they do and they give into it. That's a slow burn, hun. Anyways, let's continue. Even the so-called romantic moments fall completely flat. The romance reads like a boy's fantasy about saving a broken girl, not a mutual connection based on shared vulnerability or trust. It feels empty and rushed, yet we expect it to swoon like this grand, timeless love story. Unfortunately, I did swoon, so yeah. The rest of the side characters are a blur of testosterone and noise. Really? Every boy sounds the same with how loud and horny they are. There's supposed to found family dynamic is so shallow and unearned that I actually forgot it was supposed to exist until the book reminded me. I wanted to care, I tried to care, but the book gives us nothing to connect with, nothing to invest in. It expects emotional loyalty without doing the work to earn it. I really liked the side characters. I feel like it made it better that you could see them interacting with other people than just them two. Because I like when stories show depth to the characters and not just focusing on their love story. And I thought they were funny, especially Gypsy. Gypsy is hilarious. Anywho, she got one more paragraph here. This review is going so long. The worst part, the book has the audacity to present itself as a raw, vulnerable story about the pain and survival, yet there is no exploration of it at all. Shannon's abuse is never lived through on the page. It's just a dramatic plop used to generate pity and tension. Okay, girl, it is lived through. How many times did it happen? It was quite dramatic and it's quite confronting scenes. Okay, yeah, I don't like this ending of her review. Her recovery is not depicted and her voice is never fully heard. And that, more than anything else, makes me furious because trauma deserves respect. It deserves to be written with emotional intelligence and integrity, not reduced to backdrop for brooding boys and romantic fantasy. Look, call me a heartless bitch or whatever, but I went into this book ready to feel everything, but instead I was just emotionally starved. Okay, girl, I think she did a really good job of writing like the domestic violence scenes and all that, so I don't agree with that opinion, but again, it is a touchy subject, so we'll look over that comment. If you love this book, that is completely valid. Generally, I don't mean this as a personal attack. I'm not here to fight anyone over what they love, but for me, Bunny 13 was one of the biggest literacy disappointments I've ever experienced. A repetitive, emotionally dishonest, painfully overridden mess that left me empty, exhausted, and wondering what the hell I just read. Now, if you excuse me, I'm going to read Normal People to restore my faith in Irish literature. Okay, well, at least at the end, she says I'm valid for liking the book, so at least we can agree to disagree, and she rounded it up a bit more nicer, but still, that one was a harsh and long review. Okay, those 3 reviews were so long that I think I'm going to move on to the next book, and also I'm really sad that people didn't like that one because that actually generally is my favorite book, my favorite series. So let's move on to the next book. Next book is Mile High by Liz Tomforde from the Windy Cities series. Again, another really, really good book. I gave this book a 4 stars, but I think it actually should be a bit higher. On Goodreads, it has 4 stars as well. So we're in agreement there with majority of people on Goodreads. It has 57,668 reviews. Only 6,775 though are 1 stars. So again, not a big comparison to the overall review number. But let's get into it. Here we go. First review, posted August 24, 2023. What an utter disappointment, and I blame all of you who hyped this book up for me. Hey, Hero has notes app where he rates his sexual partners across the country so he knows who to pick for hookup when he's visiting those cities for his games. Okay, to be fair, that is a bit of an ick, and I did find that icky, so it is a bit cringe. But he is in therapy, and we're reminded of it a lot, which I'm a little suspicious. 10 years of therapy, dude, you are owed some kind of refund because it's not looking good. 10 years of therapy, and he still does that. She's like, you should get a refund. Okay, I agree with that. He does talk a lot about him being in therapy and all that, but I think it's good when men are in therapy, and it's good that it's included in the book because it shows other men that they can go to therapy too, and it's a normal thing. But yes, I do agree about the notes app thing is a bit cringe and a bit icky, but we'll move past it. And the heroine, her small work clothes, because her weight is fluctuating. Also, sometimes we're reminded of all the time, she has to be squeezed into her clothes. There is no chance for her to, I don't know, get bigger size, but don't worry, she's not like other girls with her constant fast food eating and hanging out in ratty sweats. Okay, let me make sense of that for you guys that haven't read the book. Basically, the main girl character, she's explained as to be a bit more of a curvier woman, and her weight fluctuates a lot. So sometimes her clothes, like especially her work uniform, like in this review, can appear a bit more tighter, and on other days it looks completely normal. And she does wear sweats, but I think the way her clothing is described, it's supposed to show that she's more like laid back and chilled when she wears her sweats, and like she's not like getting dressed up all the time. Like she's not that kind of a girl. But I do see how she could have been annoyed by that, I guess, like just get bigger clothes, but also it shows you got to read between the lines and see the depth to the character in that one. That's the end of her review. Here we go, another short one. Review number 2, posted on December 20, 2024. One can only read about a man talking about how big his ding dong is so many times before they question their entire existence. I hate it here. They got 615 likes. To be fair, it is described that he does have a big ding dong, and that's what makes the book so good. I'm joking, guys, I'm joking. But am I really? All right, review number 3, posted on December 19th, 2022. No, and no. The ick spread so fast with me for this one. Very swift DNF. So you didn't even finish it. So you can't really have an opinion. Because it can get better. Books can start off being bad and then get really, really good as you read it. So much telling, so much info dump. Also straight away getting I'm Stevie and I'm not like other girls. When a girl talks to a famous / popular guy and has so much truth straight off the bat for no reason, and this makes him fall for her, I started getting icebreaker PTSD. It's a no from me. If I don't find out within the first 5% what your characters want, because that's the whole point, then I'm not sticking around for another nearly 500 pages. Also, what man keeps names of girls he's fucked in every city in the notes app with their names and what they sexually excel at? Ew. Again, that notes app thing is disgusting, and I agree with that. That is icky. I agree. But the fact that you have to know what characters want within the first 5%, girl, the first 5% is chapter 1. You don't even know that there is a second character yet. So I think that's a bit of a stretch. I think you've got to give at least to 20%, 25% to know where a book is headed, and to have like a solid foundation of you knowing characters and what's going on. So 5% is a bit of a stretch. Maybe you're just impatient, but yeah. Let's go to the next one. Review 4, posted on December 27, 2025. Okay, so this is recent as well. This is after I read it. DNF'd at 55%. Okay, well, again, you didn't finish the book. So again, it could have got better than that 50%. You don't know, you could have liked it. I'm sorry, but I just can't take it anymore. What in the frickety frick was that? And the worst part, I even started this with low expectations, and now I'm kind of glad I did. Xanders has a list of girls in his notes app that he used to hook up with. Okay, I get it. He's technically the bad boy. He's actually a softie deep down. But bro, no one is looking at your notes app. Like, bro, we get it. You're a softie disguised as a heartbreaker, but you don't need to catalog your hookups like grocery items. And please stop saying Stevie girl when it's not needed. Okay, again, I agree with the notes app thing. It is icky. Stevie deserves better. I generally liked her, her habits, her personality, her behavior, loved everything about her. At this point, I should just jump into the book and go get her for myself. Oh, she is a really good character. I did like her as well. Also, this is a sports romance, right? I'm 55% in, and I still don't know much about ice hockey aside from the one who the opponents are. That's it. Could we please get some actual hockey content? Just a little more detail, please. I thought there was enough hockey. Don't we see it all the time? But again, personal preference. I guess I could have more hockey. We could watch some more games. But the whole fact is that he doesn't want to show that he has a girlfriend as well to the world. Because they're not allowed to be dating. They're not allowed to be dating, so like she can't really go to games and stuff and like watch in person because they're not supposed to know that they're together. So that one, I guess, is like so. Lovies, if you loved or even enjoyed this book, please forgive me. I'm genuinely happy for you, but it just wasn't for me. I really tried. To be honest, I'm a little scared about book 2, but I'll read it and hope I end up enjoying it. Okay, good. So we can agree to disagree that you didn't really like the first one and that you're going to keep going with the series. So it was enough to keep you going. Book number 2, I would say, is better than book number 1. So there you go. She's in for a real treat, and hopefully she rates 2 stars for the next book. Last review for this one, a nice short one. Posted on May 1st, 2025. Mile high, more like mile low. Okay. You're so smart. You're so smart. So funny. I laugh so hard. I keep turning the pages, not out of suspense, but out of sheer hope that the plane would nosedive straight to the ground. Okay, girl. Okay. Just to spice things up. Spoiler alert, it didn't. Yeah, because it's a hockey romance, not a book about like disasters. The only turbulence I experienced was my soul trying to eject itself from my body. If boredom were an airline, this book would be Flagship's flight. Okay, it's not boring. I don't know what people are reading. Sometimes, again, when I read these reviews, I question, did we read the same book? The way some people describe like their annoyance with things is so funny to me. But again, agree to disagree. That one got 89 likes. We can all like different things, but that is a crazy explanation to describe something you do not like. Okay, I think that's enough for Mile High as well. I think those reviews were enough to get the picture of what people think. Okay, if you're wondering why the outfit has changed and the audio may sound different, my mic decided to die on me for the ending of my recording of this episode, so I'm having to refilm the outro. So if I sound different or I look different in the video, it's because it is a different day. Today's episode was really fun. I had a lot of fun actually reading these comments and seeing what other people think about these books. I find it so funny, and I think this idea was really fun, and I had a lot of fun actually looking at these and actually gave me a bit of a laugh. So I feel like I will be doing this again. Let me know if there's any books that you want me to react to as well, besides my favorite books. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Please don't forget to rate and follow the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you would like to follow the podcast on Instagram and TikTok, it's just Read That with Samantha on both platforms. And if you would like the video version of this podcast as well, it's Read That with Samantha on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening again, and bye for now.